Hi, Ariana.
Hey Jordan,
How are
how's life?
you? Good. So good to see you again. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Um, I know it's been a while since we saw each other. I want to say like a week and a half or
Mhm.
so. Um, but yeah, we talked about some working on some things for the next session, being your the meal plan, the 3-day meal plan. Just so you know, I do plan to do an analysis with that. But I would like it to be if you can email it to me, if that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, just have it written out. And if you'd like to show it to me now, we can talk about it a little bit now as well. But I do have to give that like analysis. So I'm gonna
Okay.
need an informed too. How do you feel about the goal we suggested of incorporating beans? How did it work for you? Were you able to keep to it?
So
It's
I
easy hard.
realized I'm more chaotic than I thought.
Mm.
I
Okay.
bought the beans and then I never ate them.
Okay, so you just bought them. Did you like forget about them or just not have them in the routine?
I just like forgot about them. There were a bunch of days. I only kept an actual diary for like just the 3 days, but there
Mm.
were, but then it was like on my mind. Um, And I realized that the days that I'm good about eating, I'm like really good. Like there's like a bunch of fresh salmon on the list and like all this kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
then the days that I'm not good about eating, I'll have like 3 pieces of cake and some rice or something. Like it's just so inconsistent. So like
Okay.
I never got around to uh making something with the beans or even adding them to anything.
Okay. Would you be interested in still trying this goal? I mean, now you have the beans with you.
Yes.
If you feel like it would be helpful, I think we should definitely give it a try. Okay, so can you tell me about how it's have you been doing these past few weeks?
Well, um it's really stressed about my class, not getting much sleep. Um, got some bunch of personal drama going on. Um, it's been like particularly stressful, kind of, if I'm being honest.
Really? Okay. I'm so sorry
So
to hear
probably
that.
also why there were so many days where I didn't really eat, now
Mm.
that I think about it.
Right, that absolutely makes sense. That's completely understandable. We all have those days. We've all been there, right? Um, and I'm always here to listen with anything you're willing to talk about, anything that's on your mind. So you say you have been stressed, not getting much sleep. How many hours of sleep would you say you're getting on an average night on a daily basis?
4 to 6.
Okay. And you would say that's like the majority of the days.
Mhm.
Okay. So I say sleeping due to stress. Yeah, when we go through difficult times, it's always can always have effect on our sleep and just have an effect on everything, right? So
And sleep is put on the back burner. It's like the
yeah,
lowest priority when it should be the first, to be honest.
yeah. So you're saying you're stressed about the yoga particularly. What's stressful about it?
Um, it's kind of, I mean, okay, a real concrete reason is that I have to wake up or I have to be there at 8 a.m. on weekends. And I do not, for whatever reason, like there's nothing in my body's chemistry that allows me to wake up at like 7:30 ish is when I have to wake up. I tried, like, my schedule to start for work was 8 for 2 years, and I was miserable. I mean, like, miserable, struggling every single morning, like having panic attacks, struggling to get out of bed, rolling out of bed straight into an Uber to work, like not eating, not showering. And like the majority of the days until finally I had to change my work schedule. It started with me putting clients later
Hmm.
so I could kind of get away with being there late.
Right.
And I thought I had to be there at 8, and then like I thought that was like the rules, like the salon had to open at 8, but then I changed it to later. And I thought I could do this class, but like this morning I never sleep through my alarm. But this morning, for example, I slept straight through my alarm and like had a panic attack about like that I had to get up and go. By the time I woke up, it was like still too early for me, and I like had a panic attack and just like freaked out for like 2 hours and went in 2 hours late. Like it
Wow.
sounds so small,
Okay.
but it's just not working with my body's rhythm. I can't fix it.
Right. Do off your schedule. I mean, what I'm seeing is it just seems like a very difficult, rigorous thing to do on top of, working full time. So, I would expect that your body just kind of needs a lot of rest from that day. So, honestly, I would be kind to yourself about oversleeping. I think it would happen occasionally. We all have to work to get our living, and that's going to be prioritized. So, I think that's a reasonable explanation for it. And, maybe consider just the yoga thing is something you're aspiring to be, and you can still continue towards it, but maybe taking it a little bit slower, maybe going to more of a part-time, 3/4. Like you said, you seem to be doing a lot of classes, right?
It's so it's a training, so it's on a schedule,
Okay.
but graduation is there's no meeting this next weekend because of Thanksgiving. Graduation is the following weekend, and then it's done. Like we're towards the end, so I'm starting to get burnt out because it's been a while, but it's almost done. Just one more weekend.
Okay. So you're almost at the end of it. So you're kind of feeling the burnout.
Yeah.
And then you get like a break until the next one.
And then it's over. I've graduated and then I'll be
Oh,
certified.
oh, congratulations. So you're at the end of your program.
Thank
So
you.
that makes a lot of sense. You're at the tail end, it's the grind work. So that probably contributes to why you're stressed as well. And you worked very hard and your work it'll pay off. Absolutely. Good schedule at the end. All right, so yeah, that totally makes sense. All right. So something we were supposed to talk about that I totally did not before is your water intake. So how are you with drinking water?
Mm, I would say I get pretty thirsty, so I think my water intake is pretty good. Maybe like, hmm.
So you'd say you're drinking water throughout the day for the most.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously when you're working out, I'm sure, but then not just when you're working out, just when you're doing your daily tasks
Yeah.
and, meals. What do you usually drink with your meals? It's not something we talked about also.
Um, Usually if I'm being honest, something sugary. Sometimes just plain water like doesn't cut it. Um,
Okay.
so like I like the San Pellegrino sparkling fruit juice type drinks because it's like soda without all the additives, basically seltzer with sugar and fruit juice. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Um, Sometimes water. I'd say maybe like a third of the time nothing, a third of the time some sort of juice or seltzer type beverage, and then a third of the time regular water.
Okay, so you say it definitely varies.
Yeah,
What would you say was the first thing? You said juice, water, and what else? Sorry.
or like nothing with a meal.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay, so it seems like you're drinking water, which is more than a lot of people could say. So that's good. Um, so yeah, I guess we're just gonna explore a little bit more about what's really going on with your life and the stress. So you said 4 to 6 hours, and is that still related to what you talked about in the past, where you're having trouble falling asleep due to feeling hungry, or is it just because you're stressed and can't sleep? Is it just you're doing tasks and just go to bed late? Like, what would you say is usually the case for those 4 to 6 hour nights?
I think lately it's stress. I have been paying more attention to like definitely snacking before bed. And a few times in like the last since we last spoke, that helped me get to sleep. Um, but really I think it's just my natural rhythm. Um, that I go to sleep later. And then what'll happen is I either have to wake up early for yoga, or I've been so stressed lately, I might wake up at whatever time, like maybe between 4 and 6 to use the bathroom. And then I'm like anxious and I can't get back to sleep. Um, and that's what happens when I'm in a point in my life for whatever reason, my sleep is disrupted, like I'm forced to get up at 7 for this class or whatever.
Hmm.
Then subsequent sleeps are, it's like my body forgot how to sleep. Like I'm constantly in like this state of stress where I'm like, oh well, the last time I was comfortable and happy sleeping, I got woken up, so I'm not going to make those sleep hormones anymore. Or that's just how it feels. And then to fix it, I have to, like, probably I have a few days off for Thanksgiving, probably have to nap like a lot and reteach my brain like sleep is good, and then I'll like probably sleep through the night.
Okay, so what you're kind of saying, just make sure I get you correctly, is on days where you get that poor sleep, 4 to 6 hours, you feel like the only way to fully recover is to make up for whatever lost time.
Yeah, because like if like I'm jolted out of bed, right? Like if I'm jolted out of bed that morning and I was not ready to get up and I have to force myself to get up no matter what and go out even though I'm so tired, I would think, oh, that night when I get home, I'll sleep like a baby.
Hmm.
But it's like, no, I'm still in cortisol mode or something like that. So I don't just like pass out and catch up on sleep when I get home. Um, if anything, I might stay up even like a little later than usual. Um, Usually it feels, and then even that night of sleep will be like just not quality, kind of like disrupted in one way or another.
Okay. Right, that totally makes sense. I mean, you think you're exhausted once you get to bedtime, you're able to fall asleep, but something stressful happens or your mind's on something, and our hormones are very powerful. They really
Yeah.
drive us.
It's like maybe my body overcompensated when I had to force myself out of bed. It's like, oh, you have to get up and do stuff. Don't worry, I got you. We're going to make enough awake hormones to last the next 2 days.
Right. Your body is sort of trying to make this sort of like sleep thing like a regular for you or like lack of sleep. Like it's trying to make it, your body is convinced that one night of 4 to 6 days, and that's like the normal for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess we're doing this now. All right.
Okay. So would you say then it's not really like every other night? You'd say it could be like a pattern of several days of only getting 4 to 6 hours?
Yes, yes. And then it'll take um a few days, at definitely more than one day to fix it also.
Hmm. So that's like easily a 3 to 4 day, 2 to 3, 2 to 3 day period, you would say?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm seeing like irregular sleep and it's causing stress and it's making the day a little bit more harder to get through. So, all right. It seems like a lot of your patterns are very much, or a lot of the stress that's in your life is very much sleep related. Would you say you can, because some people can function on like 6 hours of sleep. Would you say you're the person who like you need that 8 hours and like you notice a huge difference?
Yes, I need about 9 hours of sleep to be fully functional.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense. You would say the situation you're in right now is for the most part temporary
Yes.
because you think it is going to get a lot better.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Once I don't have, outside of this yoga training, waking up at 8 a.m. or 7 to be somewhere by 8 is not part of my life at all
Right. Yeah. It's a
by
lot.
design.
It's absolutely a lot. Totally get where you're coming from. So you'd say your main stress factor is definitely the sleep, and that would be the
Yeah.
biggest cause of it. Okay, yeah, because I'm seeing, overall healthy. I definitely should have had you email me this before, but that's okay because I can still analyze it. Um,
I
I
would
guess
say
well,
definitely everything stems from the lack of sleep because then that causes like stress, low appetite, um, and then that turns into a vicious cycle because if I don't eat, I'm like tired and stressed and like poor social interactions and stuff, and also leading to poor appetite. Yeah, it's all because of lack of sleep.
I know we sort of mentioned this before. Would you say, how are you with going to bed at the same time every night? I recall you mentioning it's sort of a window, like you'd say from like, was it like 10 to 1 or something?
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Um, I'm thinking obviously a lot of this is temporary because I think it is really based on an external factor. I think one thing that really does help is trying to get to bed at the same time. So I think it might be a good time to try and like decrease that two gap window. So how
Mhm.
do you feel about maybe trying for until the next time we meet? Still trying the beans thing if you can, to the best of your
Mhm.
ability. Don't force yourself. Try to really make it part of your lifestyle. I want to see if this works for you. And, I'll definitely have other recommendations when I really look at your diet plan, your 3-day recall. But I think doing it at the same time every day would really help. So what would you say it is right now? You say 10 to 1?
Mhm.
All right.
I think I could realistically say like midnight
Okay.
as like
So
a
you think
bed.
that's realistic? Like midnight is the cutoff, and obviously early
Yeah.
is possible and better, but we'll try to make that the cutoff, right? Like midnight. If we go to bed by midnight, this will be a success, and
Mhm.
we'll see if that'll help sort of improve things. Remind me when you said, I know you said it, but this module is over how many weeks?
On December 8th. So, oh, the
Okay.
only 2 days left of the class that I have to wake up early are December 7th and 8th. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I think that'd be definitely a good goal for you to work on. Um, I mean, you're not obligated to talk about your personal situation. If you'd like to, you feel like it would help you feel better. I'm happy to listen, but that's up to you.
My boyfriend is being involuntarily held in the psych ward.
Oh my God, I'm so
But
sorry
it's
to
like
hear
good
that.
for him though. Like
Okay.
he needed it, but it was like stressful. And I reached out to his mom. And we talked on the phone for like 3 hours and she cried. This was before he went to
Oh,
the psych ward. And then the very next day, the police like found him. And I was like, I had called her to offer to help. Like, I was like, I know you don't know me. I hope this isn't inappropriate, but I want to help however I can. He shares his location on his phone with me, if that would help. Um, and I was like, if you want me to like set a trap for him to go to the psych ward, because it was like really like life and death at this point.
that's very nice.
Um, and then the next day the cops got him and stuff. So that's been like weird.
So he was in trouble for something.
Yeah, they he's like having psychosis.
Mm,
Um, and he was like out on the street, like refusing to get help from his family, pushing everyone away, getting in trouble with the cops more and more. Like being a public nuisance, and I don't even know. Um, and like really like traumatizing me, to be honest.
hmm.
Um, and now that he's in the hospital, I ignored 3 calls from him today. He doesn't know that I know he's in the hospital, but just before we called, he called and I ignored it. He like is saying like he's sorry for like various things and he wants to repair things when he gets out in a few weeks. And I'm like preparing in the back of my mind to like tell him like everything's okay, but I still have trauma from like stuff that you did,
Right.
even though it's like not your fault you're in psychosis. Like I don't even know what's real anymore. And like I need to take care of myself. Like I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping. It's
Absolutely.
obviously I the main thing I will say is like waking up early. for me is more traumatic than my boyfriend possibly having schizophrenia.
Wow, that is a bold statement. Okay, so it must be very difficult to be with somebody like this. I'm really sorry to hear that you're going through this, and obviously I can understand how this is a big part of your stressing, you know.
Yeah. I'm just
Um,
glad he's in the hospital, but yeah, that's definitely been a factor in everything.
okay. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously this is something you definitely want to talk about your therapist with if you know, you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons with someone like that. You know, if you're gonna have to do this throughout your life, you have to think of yourself first and make sure you're able to provide for yourself and not giving up too much for him. So
Yeah.
definitely, I recommend talking with your therapist about that.
I'm like, I have to make sure I eat my beans first before I can deal with that.
HRV,
Boundaries.
exactly. Oh my God. Um, yeah. Um, okay. So sleep and just a big old stressor is really what's causing this. And you would say those are, other than that, you would say things are good in life though, like positive or going well,
To be
or is
honest,
one
yeah.
big thing? Okay, good. It's important to remember what's going well when we are going through difficult things because it's going to help us really reinforce how what we have is good and what we're doing, what we're working towards is good, right? So it's good to
Yeah.
hear
All is not lost.
that. 100%. Um, I just want to get some updates on some things. I know we talked about exercise, but it seems like basically your whole exercise is from your lifestyle and you're like burning sufficient calories, you would say. Your weight seems to be normal. You mentioned you're interested in losing weight, but not that much. You said it was maybe like 5, 10 pounds. Am I
Yeah, like I'm fluctuating around like I used to fluctuate between closer to like 160 to 165, 155 on like the very low end. Now I'm fluctuating between more like 152 and 157. And
Oh,
I want to fluctuate between like 145 on the lower end and 155 on the higher end.
okay. Yeah, and I'll definitely keep this consideration. Again, I definitely didn't do my best to justice in I should have had you email this before we met because if you had emailed this before we met and I looked at it, I'd be able to give you very specific insights and recommendations, but we'll have that in the next session because we do have one more session together. So it's coming. I'm looking forward to seeing um what you have. All right.
Honestly, I think I'm going to change it a little bit and include I had done um my few days like before, but I think I'm going to take one out and include today because the other days were when I was doing like really good and but then today it'll show like what I ate on what happens on the days where I'm not like taking care of myself. You know
hmm.
what I mean? It'll show the full spectrum.
Oh, so you would say are you saying like you picked like specific days where you ate well?
Yeah,
Or
also they were closer to like the few days after we spoke last, I was like doing pretty all right and I had a bunch of leftovers too. Like I had a bunch of stuff left over or prepared and I didn't have to do like that much cooking, but also I was like doing good. Then in the later few days, things went to like the other side of the spectrum that I can be on when it comes to eating.
hmm,
So those few days that I did record
right.
make me look like really good.
The stress eating. Okay. So you didn't get a bad day on recording.
Right, right.
Okay. I mean, this is up to you. You can detail it, or we could honestly talk about that right now. If you want to give me a call of one of your bad days and we could talk about it.
So basically today and like in general, my bad eating days will look like this morning I did have and this was the only reason I was able to do this was because I like skipped the first 2 hours of class, like 2+ hours of class, and like relaxed and worked my way up to this. I had 2 eggs and 3 sausages, um, with a slice of American cheese, and then
Yeah.
and a piece of marble cake and some coffee.
Okay.
Then I didn't eat anything for the rest of the day. I had water. I mean, granted, I was working out, so I had some water. And then I got home and I had like a frozen curry or like butter chicken thing, like an Indian food thing. Just like one of those small ones, you know. Um, and that was all that I ate for the whole day.
So
And
you say the curry thing. So can you describe that again for me?
yeah, it was like a not very big portion of like yellow rice, like
Okay.
probably rice with turmeric in it, and chicken and uh just like sauce, like curry sauce,
Okay,
I
so
guess.
chicken curry with rice. Were there any vegetables in that curry?
No.
No. Okay, so just pure chicken.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's your intake for one of the bad days.
Yeah. And
Packing it all.
we did a lot of exercise today. So I can definitely tell that I need more calories, but the motivation to eat is not there. The appetite is not there. The excitement for food is not there.
It's not there. And you would say this is currently in the moment.
Mhm.
So these bad days, would you say in the last 5 days, how many of these bad days did you have?
Today's today, Sunday. Um, all 5 of them.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe 4. Let's say like 4.
Okay. So it just seems like a matter of getting back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the breakfast, it looks heavy, but it is still, might not be as excessive considering what else you eat throughout the day. I mean, what I'm seeing here, the issue is not a calorie deficit. You're not getting too many calories if you're eating one meal, well, 2 meals. Like I would think you're getting your right amount of calories. It's more so the other stuff, the vegetables and fruits and those other healthy things that I see missing. So, I mean, a good recommendation would be to just start small, any opportunity to put a fruit or vegetable, just go for it, even if it's simple, like with this breakfast, cutting up a piece of fruit, or even better yet, replacing the cake with a piece of fruit, if
Hmm.
you feel like you can. Something sweet, something sweet that's healthier. And, with the curry, I know there are chicken curries that are just chicken. I've had those before, but it can be suggested that curries have vegetables with them.
Hmm.
So, when you make choices like that, because it was like a frozen instant thing, right?
Hmm.
Try to look for products that like have all the stuff in them, like the vegetables and the stuff like that. So when you do have to do those quick meals, you'll still have get better nutrition from it. Because I would say that's a big concern. And going through the middle of the day eating nothing. So this first meal is at about what time?
Like 9:30 ish.
And then this later meal.
About 6 ish, 5:45 ish.
Okay, so you go from like 9 to 6 or 5:45 to eating anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
I brought a banana for a snack and I had one bite and I was like, mm-mm,
okay,
mm-mm.
so you tried, which is great. Um, so did you feel, I mean, you mentioned you had some sort of indigestion related to like your father had ulcerative colitis. Do
Mm.
you feel like physical pain, like a cramp, or is it just more like you're just disgusted by the thought of food and you're just really off put?
Right, the second one, like just no motivation. Sometimes I'll be like forcing myself to eat. Like my roommates have saw it. After I quit gluten, I haven't really had the pain anymore. Um, but sometimes I'm just so not hungry. But from experience, I know that it's not just like, oh, listen to your body, like I'll get my calories later. Like I will not eat like for days and never make it up just because I don't feel like eating. So I'll be like at the kitchen counter, the plate of food, and I'll be like forcing a bite down my throat. And then I'm like moving around, kind of just like fidgeting or like kind of pacing around my kitchen a little bit, return back to it, take another bite. Like literally look like a child at the dinner table when they're like, you have to eat everything before you can leave. Like zero ability to work up an appetite.
I
But
see. And you would
so
say in
like,
this past 5 days, you would say it's congruent with the, well, no, you said in the past 5 days, this has been like this, right?
yeah. Yeah, like some days when my appetite is good, it's like very healthy and I won't like I crave healthy food. Like I'll eat like normal food like vegetables and stuff and like I don't need to have greasy stuff. Um and so it's like great when I have an appetite, but some days I just like can't work up the excitement like to eat. And some people have suggested like medical marijuana and stuff. Weed makes me anxious.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other things that we could probably do before we do that, And, that's always not something that we particularly recommend, at least not to solve problems like that, you know. Definitely not hunger. So okay. I mean, I'm just trying to think of ways that this appetite could possibly be re-stimulated. So I mean, when you're making these choices, are you prioritizing like your favorite foods? Like what are your favorite foods?
I really like there's there's a few things that are on my list of like when I have to eat. What if it gets to the point where I'm like starving and I will not eat, then I'll give myself whatever it takes to eat. Like there's these German chocolate cakes from this brand that makes everything gluten free and like pretty good with the additives too. Like it's pretty simple ingredients. Called Char.
Hmm.
They're 150 calories each. Sometimes I'll get to the point where I will not eat anything. Like I can't shove anything down my throat. Usually I'll be able to eat one or two of those. And sometimes it will, then once it gets like my stomach going, it'll stimulate my appetite for other stuff.
Okay.
There's a pizza place around the corner from me that does gluten-free pizzas.
Hmm.
That's like a safe option for me because they have good ingredients. Um, and there's this like, are they Vietnamese? There's another place around the corner from me that does this beef stew. That's always soups are like a good option because I can just kind of like drink some of it first, and that's nutrients. Then it
Mm.
gets my stomach going, and
Yes.
then I can eat the solid parts. Like a lot of times, it's a matter of like finding the thing that's like real, real, real tasty for whatever reason. I feel like it's a safe food and getting like the ball rolling with hunger. And
Yeah.
then maybe I can eat other stuff, but not
That makes
always.
I'm seeing a few things. I mean, typically when people have lack of appetite, a simpler solution is to have more easily eaten, digested foods. You mentioned soup, everything's just kind of together. You just eat it up. There's usually not a lot of chewing, involved or work or effort. So yeah, I think focusing more on those easy foods. Um, the chocolate thing, you said like you'd eat that and you'd feel hungry, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering if like, is it that specific chocolate thing? I'm wondering if chocolate could sort of help stimulate the appetite. So maybe having like a chocolate candy of some kind and
I
trying
wonder.
just something and maybe we could try.
Or like chocolate, I don't like candy, but I like hot chocolate, like a beverage.
Hmm. Okay, so maybe that could be I think it's worth a try, right? Maybe if you could have when you try to have that snack in the middle of the day,
Hmm.
it seems like just having a meal you feel like is just not an option and it's not a time thing. You have the time, you just can't physically eat it. So,
Mhm.
it might be worth it to, I think definitely, I think you should definitely should have something in the middle of the day. And I see you're trying to eat this banana and it's not working. So yeah, just having some hot chocolate with it. I know it seems a little silly, but I think it could possibly, in instances where you just can't eat, maybe.
I kind of want some now, actually. Like now that we mentioned chocolate,
Oh.
I'm like craving chocolate. Oh wait, let me make sure my phone's not about to die.
Mm,
It was oh oh let me plug it in. Let me plug it in.
okay. No
It
worries.
drains my battery, the video chat so fast. My phone was almost full when we started.
It does drain fast.
Okay, there we go.
All right. I mean, yeah, I think, obviously it's ideal to get you back on the regular eating patterns. And I mean, you seem to mention, well, you talked about how it's very easy to go from healthy to unhealthy, but how you feel it is when you get out of this pattern usually of eating healthy again. Do you feel like it can be right away, or do you feel like takes like building up to?
Maybe a little building up, but not as much as the sleep thing. Because it just takes like one day where for whatever reason I snap out of it, and then I'll like cook a bunch of stuff. Um, and I'm like, yeah, I have it here. Here we go. I'm gonna
Hmm.
I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna be healthy and I'm gonna eat a lot. Honestly, I don't know what it is because it's just like some days I wake up and I'm like, I'm hungry.
Hmm. Right. Um, and then it depends what you had the night before, obviously, and how late you ate. The midnight snack will play a role into that when that happens. So you would say the midnight snack, because you didn't mention it in this 5-day period. So in this days that we're calling bad eating, right? You would say there's not usually a snack.
Actually, there were a few
Okay.
now that I think about it. Um, I remember I had mashed potatoes in the middle of the night. I woke up, well, I didn't wake up, but I was laying there trying to sleep and I couldn't. And then I was like, let me get some food. And I had like a ton of mashed potatoes. Um, well, what felt like a ton at the time because I didn't eat that much that day. And um something else too. And I remember thinking like, this is a lot of food for a midnight snack.
Mm, yeah, definitely not the most ideal time to eat. So would you say that happened once or several times?
um, a lot of food once and then hard to say, but like several times. Just like a little snack, like one little thing.
Okay. A little snack is probably fine. I think the bigger portions would be more of the concern. So it makes me feel okay that you said it only happened one day. Having one mishap is not going to affect things in the long run, right? So, yeah. All right. I just want to, and then we could talk about whatever else for the rest of the session. Remind you of what your goals are. So first of all, your first goal. First of all, thank you very much for the food diary, and I cannot wait to read it. I'm actually very excited. And for the beans, so you have the beans and you just had trouble. Do you feel like you're still interested? Do you feel like this goal is something that's realistic for you? Do you think there's a way we could change it? Or do you think you
It's
want to?
it's definitely realistic because I have no problem with beans and it's perfect. Like I just didn't get around to it because like that first I had stuff like pretty much ready for like the few days after we talked. And then there should have been a new wave of like the next week's batch of food or whatever that the beans would have gone into. Like maybe that week I would have done like tacos or whatever. Um, or like just rice and beans. And that just didn't happen. Like I was just eating the most random stuff and like not cooking and stuff.
So I
Um,
think I might have misunderstood. So you did do the bean thing for some days.
no, 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 no,
You
no.
didn't do it at
Right,
all. Okay.
right.
you were just ready to do it, and then like at the same time, all this craziness happened, and you got thrown off the diet in general.
Y-
You know, the beans
Yeah,
are out of the question at that point. That totally makes sense.
the beans are
Um,
hectic.
I think it's definitely still worth a try, to know, get your intake. I definitely do see some middle of the night hunger things happening, and it makes sense because you're just not eating enough throughout the day, especially considering your lack of appetite.
I love
Um,
the idea of the beans because they're so dense, like
yes,
nutrient and calorie dense and stuff. And that's pretty much my priority when it comes to eating because I'm worried about the times where I won't eat that much. So I'm like, I have to make every calorie count, like putting a little extra oil on my food or like drinking the full fat milk.
right, and that's a good goal. That's absolutely a good way to do it if you feel like you can't eat as much to, you know, when you do eat, make sure it's like calorie dense, right? So, okay, continuing with the beans, we're also going to try to make, like Cinderella, bedtime at midnight, right? Little Cinderella story. So midnight latest for bed.
Hmm.
No.
Ah,
Yeah, I do whatever I have to do. If you want to try to like get in by 11 to settle down by 12, just do whatever you feel like you have to do to be midnight. Because if we try to get this to be more consistent, that could be helpful as well.
I'll have to tell my roommate to leave me alone.
Yes.
Don't bother
And
me.
the third goal, I mean, this is a little bit more of an experiment. I'm just kind of interested to see because you mentioned this chocolate cake that really got you hungry, and just in general, eating foods to get you hungry and stimulate further eating. So
Hmm.
I think the hot chocolate thing with your snack that you bring might be worth it. I mean, is there
Roll
a way
with the chocolate.
you can easily grab that though for your like when you do have a snack?
Um, yeah. Yeah, because now I'm working a little bit less and I'll be at home more. Um, and yeah, I don't really go like too far from my
Mhm.
like
So relatable. I totally
I'm
understand.
like back and forth on my days off, like all the things I do are like very local to my house. Um, and for right now, like my goals are kind of like focused on like for when I'm at home because I'll be home 4 days a week and at work 3 days a week.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I I won't necessarily think about what I'm doing at work. At work, I'll bring enough food for the day and
Okay.
hopefully I eat it.
Okay. So you feel like this hot chocolate goal is possible.
Yes.
Okay. So, I just think, trying little things like that, you never know, right?
I haven't had
So,
hot chocolate in so long. I'm
maybe,
so serious. I'm like actually craving it now that we're talking about.
all right. So those three things, are we clear on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm craving it too. You're totally right. All right. So that is pretty much all I have to talk about today. Is there anything else in particular you'd like to discuss that we haven't yet?
No, honestly, just like last time, I genuinely feel like I got to say every single thing I wanted to say about
Yeah,
that
which
topic.
is great. That makes our job so much easier if you're able to talk like you have no idea. So I genuinely, genuinely appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, so three goals. We have the sleep, we have the beans, and we have the hot chocolate. So I feel like those two things are good. Um, and then I would just need you to, as quickly as you can, because you have it already, it doesn't matter writing it out, right? Sending me
Yeah,
your
it's in
baby call.
it's in my phone. I'll send you. Would you rather I'll copy and paste it in an email rather than screenshot it.
It could be either thing.
Okay.
Whatever's easier for you.
Okay.
All right.
I will do that. I'll reply
Okay.
to your email that you sent me before this.
And then to schedule our next session, so my instructor gave me an extension so kindly, so I have to be done before December 8th. So
Okay.
I was thinking, and there has to be at least a week in between. So for our next session, hmm,
So what's today? Sunday. So it would
Monday.
next Sunday would be the earliest we could possibly do it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would prefer a day during the week. So like, do you think Monday, like how does your Monday, it would have to be basically that first week of December, sometime in
Mhm.
December. Um, how do you feel about Monday? Do you think that works for you, December 2nd?
That's perfect. That's literally perfect for me.
So we're gonna aim for that day.
Yep, and I'll be out of work. Um, uh, Same deal, like evening. Um, Ideally around 8, I would say. Just to be safe, because like my work day ends at 7, so it'll have time for like dogs to trickle out and for me to get home and be ready and stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
If not, uh, I can always like move things around and make time during the day too. It's not a big deal as long as I know in advance.
Okay, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. This has been great. It's great to hear about. I mean, I'm sorry to hear about what you're going through. I think, your a lot of your struggles are really from that. I think hopefully next week when it'll calm down a little bit better and we'll be able to really, focus on making some changes. But I think you're doing great.
Mhm.
Um, any progress is progress. So,
True.
all right. So thank you so much, Ariana. Remember to email me that stuff.
Mm.
And the three goals. And all right, then thank you so much. And I will talk to you. I'll see you next Monday.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.